And welcome to our monthly look at the state of the Eagles. David Moulton with FGCU Athletic Director Ken Kavanagh. When we last spoke, the fall season was winding down. Let's put the fall season to bed. A lot to talk about on and off the field. Arguably the greatest fall season in the history of the school.
No doubt. It's just really encouraging to see that what we thought a year ago maybe it would be hard to repeat, and what happened this fall with the two soccer teams, volleyball breaking their record for Division I wins. It's just been terrific.
The men's soccer team, most successful season they've ever had, finally breaking through. The women did it last year. Men did it this year and came 4 minutes away from making it to the third round of the NCAA tournament. Remarkable, because didn't they lose like 37 seniors off the team from last year?
Yeah, it's we didn't have many, which is good for next year that we didn't have a lot of seniors this year. What Bob has done in the competition that we played, and not just played, but we get home games against, is a tremendous testament to what he's built from the ground up. To be in a position where we're playing at North Carolina down a man for the last 52 minutes of the game. We take the lead, even down a person, with Albert scoring our lead goal, and then unfortunately right at the end they tied it and we wound up losing in double overtime. But we just found out we finished 20th in the country, which is the highest finish we've ever had for any of our teams. You look at men's basketball finishing, I believe, 25th, women's basketball finished 21st, and women's soccer a year ago 23rd. So it's a pretty proud moment to have four teams that have now finished in the top 25, such a young program, but for now men's soccer to say that they're at the top of that heap.
And for the women's soccer program, you don't want to take conference championships in stride, especially since late in this season, this team battled a lot of injuries.
Well, 7 Pete now, and we've had men's soccer didn't get it in the regular season. They got back to the NCAA for the 4th time, and now the women's soccer won the last 7 championships, the first time it's ever been done in the history of the conference. The guys, both women's basketball and for men's soccer, tied them last year. Carl and the ladies hopefully can tie Jim and the gals with a 7-peat this year, but to do with all the injuries, to be in a position to lose Nikki Hudson, our all-conference midfielder, out for the conference tournament and then for the NCAAs, it was just remarkable. But Jim just finds ways to get it done, and again, he plays a tremendous schedule as well, and it's a scenario where we go to Florida, get a very tough draw as we normally do in state for those particular NCAA tournaments where you stay regionally, and to be in a position where it's middle of the second half and we're tied 0-0. Eventually we wound up giving up some goals, but just really a great testament to what this team has done, and for Tabby to finish her career as our first ever 2-time All-American, blew the records away for the ASUN for goals and points, and a lot to be proud of, but at the same time a lot to come back for next year for an AP.
And you mentioned some of the awards that Tabby received this year and honors, but potentially a very high honor for Albert Ruiz on the men's side.
Albert was excited last week to hear that he became our first ever first-team All-American, and second ever to Chris Sale in the entire department. And then just to be named the one of 3 finalists that will be named on January 6th, the Herman Trophy winner, which for those who don't know, that's the equivalent of the Heisman Trophy. And Albert led the country in scoring at 22 goals. I think the next person maybe had 19. He had 49 points, and he really has a chance to win that award. And just to be named a finalist is phenomenal. But to have a chance to win it, and again, he's only a junior, so we're looking forward hopefully to have him come back next year.
So 2 postseason conference champions, a regular season conference champion in soccer, 2 trips to the NCAA tournament, and a tournament win. That's just from soccer. Then you also had the most successful volleyball season you've had as a Division I program.
Yeah, as I said a little earlier, 27 wins, which broke our record for a Division I program, in a position where Amanda Carroll, Maggie Rick, and others made all conference, and we're in a position where we made it to the championship game at Lipscomb, lost to a very good Bison team who is really kind of been recently the benchmark, but we were in a position where we knocked off Kennesaw State in the semifinals, who had beaten us early in the year, but we split with both Lipscomb and Kennesaw, so to get to the championship match wasn't totally unexpected, but it's another building block for what we hope will be our first ever championship next year, because we really think volleyball is close to getting to the NCAAs themselves.
Well, and the semifinals had kind of been a bugaboo for FGCU in years past, so getting to the final and deep into the 4th set was noteworthy. And I had a conversation recently with Coach Botsford during a basketball broadcast, in which he just talked about, we're continuing to upgrade the talent level in this program. There's evidence of that because you mentioned Albert Ruiz potentially winning the men's soccer Heisman, if you will. Well, Coach Botsford has a high school recruit coming in who has a chance to win the high school Heisman.
Yeah, and that one based on academics and athletics. Courtney Van Loo is an incoming freshman from Columbus, Indiana, who was named one of 5 finalists nationally. They have 5 men and 5 women that got named for the Wendy's Heisman High School Trophy, and it's just based on academics and athletics combined. She's a phenomenal volleyball player, but she's also an extremely successful swimmer, and I believe track and field. So she was one of 5, got to go to New York where the Heisman Trophy was given and be at a dinner. And I don't believe, we didn't hear that she won, so we're assuming she was a runner-up. But a runner-up, she got a $5,000 scholarship. If she won, we'll pass it on the next episode that we had, because she'd get a $10,000 scholarship. But to be in that elite group of 5 women in the entire country as a senior in high school, we're really excited to have her come into our program.
All right, that puts the fall season to bed. Before we get to the winter season, which is obviously ongoing, you have some off-the-field news to deal with, all of it good. Including Night at the Nest. You guys keep saying every year it is bigger and better. Well, you had a lot to top last year, which was over $500,000. Did you top it?
We haven't finalized all incoming results, both revenue and expenses, but we're close. And we hope to be able to soon be able to figure it out and see that we have. But if not, we're at a point we definitely made over $500,000 again, which again, for people who have not understood this auction dinner that we have the first Friday in December every year, it started in 2010 and we made $32,000. We had Paul Azinger here as our speaker, and it was nice. We had 300 people in the gym, and now here we are in our 7th one, and back-to-back years of over $500,000, and it's 800 full capacity group in the arena. We have mobile bidding that's now involved, and it's really become the highlight fundraiser and fundraiser for the department.
Well, and one of the auction items, I know Chris Sale for a few years now has said, hey, listen, come to Chicago, auction off something, I'll get them tickets, VIP treatment on the field after the game, the whole deal. Well, at the time of Night at the Nest, it was to come to the south side of Chicago. I'm hoping all of these tickets and what have you are transferable to Beantown.
Yeah, we were thankfully with Katie Haas, who runs the operations for the Red Sox here with spring training. She's already greased it for us to be able to switch it from white to red. When the White Sox had the program, we weren't able to use Red Sox games, so at least we can use the Red Sox games. I assume the White Sox will be part of it. But yeah, it's really been an exciting time over the last week or so. First, for Chris and his family to know that they can be here for another 2 months and not have to move. They're expecting their second son by the time this airs. Hopefully Brayson will be well on board with Rylan and in a position where we've got someone who could possibly go to the World Series, and hard for me to say actually when.
And it's hard for Ken to say because Ken is an unabashed, this much obnoxious Yankees fan. I believe there's a photo of you in a Red Sox jersey.
Yeah.
You sell out you.
Well, I bleed green and blue, and that means being loyal to our folks. But yeah, I've taken a little bit of heat and a lot of abuse from my Boston College friends, either Red Sox or Yankee fans. And my grandfather, who passed away, who was a diehard Red Sox fan, he's looking down laughing at me.
Anything for the cause, right? Anything for Chris.
For Chris.
No one else.
Green and blue.
But for Chris Sale. Also, last month in the episode, we talked about the expansion that was going on. Well, they hadn't broken ground a month ago. Well, there's construction dust on our cars now, and there's fencing, and there's signs, and there's even traffic cops. So I know something's going on.
Yeah, it's thankfully all the area has been excavated, and it's now heading up. We actually met in this room earlier today, and we're just excited. Come the end of July, we're going to have the new offices for the basketball teams that really need them and are in a position where they've been patiently waiting. An area for a team meeting room upstairs for the teams to collectively meet, bring recruits in, and we can even have some department functions in there. And then on the lower level, brand new area for academics that will enlarge the space that we currently have, and will double the size and have much more new modalities and other opportunities for our sports medicine staff. So it will be functionally tremendous for us, but it will also be big for us in recruiting.
How long will this take until it is completed?
At the end of July. We expect come August 1st, when we basically start the 17-18 year, that everything will be ready to go and everybody will be moved in, and we'll be in a position where we'll be able to start to use things in ways that we've really been waiting for.
It is the glorious thing about construction in Florida. You and I are from the Northeast. A project like this would take a couple of years as opposed to about 8 to 9 months. All right, the winter sports season well underway. Let's start with swimming, because obviously you lost your founding coach, and it seems as if the swimming program, which was top 30 up until this year, is top 30 again.
Yeah, Dave Rollins has done a great job. Neil, to his credit, left us in terrific shape as he went on to his new opportunity at FSU as our founding coach. And Dave's come in and hasn't missed a beat, working with Amanda and Dave as our two other assistants. And the leadership of our upper class swimmers have really helped that. Anytime you go through a transition in coaches, you really look to your upperclassmen to help make sure that they can work with the new coaching staff to give information, but also create that leadership. And we continue to swim against some of the best programs in the country. We went out to California and swam against number 4 USC and number 9 UCLA, and we beat Oregon State and a number of other schools out there. We had a great meet here a month ago where we competed with Ohio State and LSU and Virginia Tech, and we beat Utah and Rutgers, and we've beaten Miami and Georgia Tech already. So, you know, the lineup that the swim teams go against puts us in a position where we get to the NCAAs. The ladies have swam against a lot of those teams already in the pool, and that's the reason we've had success on the national level too. And with it, one of our top swimmers from a year ago that made the NCAAs, Fani from Finland, who was Fani, our freshman from Finland, and it's Fani, and I can't pronounce her last name. Fani begins with a T, but Fani has been a tremendous swimmer since last year when she got here in January, and she just swam at the World Championships up in Windsor and finished 15th in the country in her event. So we're really excited, and I think that hopefully it'll be another championship year for them with the CCSA, and we'll have a number of ladies make it to the Nationals.
Men's basketball team had a 6-game winning streak, about ready to wrap up non-conference play. Conference play will get underway in early January. You could argue, however, the most noteworthy part of the season was very early on, the final 2 seconds of the game at Michigan State. Has it been resolved, quite frankly? Because going forward, obviously you guys couldn't get the 2 seconds replayed again, and you lost by 1. But going forward, would this play out differently?
We hope so. I've spoken to the national supervisor of officials who had nothing to do with that game. He's basically there to monitor things, to look at people who work in the NCAA, but I've spoken to the Big Ten office, I've spoken to our Atlantic Sun Conference office, and what happened really was an unfortunate situation that didn't get, in my opinion, dealt with as it should have been on the court. We've been told, though, they couldn't do anything. I've been told by others they could have. There's nothing we can do really at this juncture for that, other than say, let's make sure this doesn't happen to somebody else down the road. Certainly, definitely not an NCAA tournament game. And
or a conference tournament game. I think that's the fear that, you know, okay, you guys took one on the chin, probably should have been handled differently. But have you been given any indication that if it were to happen again, 2 seconds to go, the clock is inadvertently started, so the final play does not go as it should have, where the clock starts when the ball is touched by a player? Are you confident that this won't happen again in March?
Not right now. And the reason I say that is that some people are saying you need to modify the rule, which if we need to, we're pushing toward having that happen. At the same time, others have said it was misapplied. I think it was misapplied based on what I've seen in the rule. I'm not an NCAA official, so I can't specifically say it other than what I see. I thought there was enough grounds for them to do it. As I said to others, if the white team was taking the ball out of bounds and the blue team was on defense, I have a feeling we were going to replay that play. But I think that's what needs to be done. Common sense just dictates when a clock starts when the ball's in the air and it wasn't supposed to start, something went wrong, you just replay it. So we're hopefully going to work through it, but couldn't have been prouder of not only how the guys played that night to go toe-to-toe with the Spartans, but I thought Joe and the guys handled it tremendously afterwards. They were extremely disappointed. I was in the locker room after the game, and they were very frustrated. A couple guys asked me, you know, what's going on? How can this happen? And I really didn't have any answers for them, but I thought they took the high road, and since then have really paid attention to what's going forward.
Well, and they responded with a 6-game winning streak, so obviously they didn't pout. The women's basketball team had something unprecedented. at the start of the season, they had a 4-game losing streak. Obviously, used to success here at FGCU, they bounced back, put a winning streak together. This is a very different season than most anybody has really seen here.
No doubt. When we went through this in 11-12, where we had 6 seniors off of that first NCAA team, we did have a core main cog in Sarah Hansen that kind of put things on her back for the 12-13 season, and we wound up winning the regular season. The pieces are different this time, but thankfully the head coach and the coaching staff are there, and I have every confidence that we're going to continue to have the success we've had over the last week. We played a very difficult schedule to start off. We went 2 road games, and we played in that tournament down at Germain against Ohio State, who is not only a top 10 and a Final Four potential team, they have potentially the best player in the country, and we were down 1 at half and down 6 going into the fourth quarter. And George Washington, who beat us, we had beaten them the last 2 years, and they really had, with a call from what I understand, should have won their first round game against Syracuse. It was a bang-bang play at the end of the game, and Syracuse was runner-up to UConn last year. And then Kent State was a good, solid team from the MAC that I'm sure will have a good chance to possibly win their league, and it was coach's alma mater, so a little pride there. But they just played well, and we played at 11 o'clock in the morning, and I think our young group was not ready mentally for how good Kent State was going to be. But since then, we've gotten back into what we normally do, and the threes are going down, and we're looking forward to competing again for another championship.
Now, if you go back with FGCU a few years, there may be some similarities. Very first year of Division I, the D2 team the year before played for the national championship. They lost 3 starters, and then their top returning scorer transferred, and it looked as if first year of D1 was going to be rough. Chelsea Dermeyer, then Banbury now, all right, was the point guard on the team first year of D1. Was talking to her recently, and I said, are there any similarities to that team? And she said, yes. I remember we were like 6-6 around Christmas break. She goes, and then it just clicked. And so she said, hopefully we're going to have a year like this. All the newcomers, at some point, it just clicks.
Yeah, and folks, this is why we have David here helping us out, because he's got more experience than any of us. I really believe it will, because it takes a while to learn Carl's offense, as most people know, and even for new assistant coaches coming in, they've mentioned that. So you put all those new players within reason on the court and the new chemistry, I think it will continue.
And very quickly, off the field, off the court, if you will, programs are very active. I know the men did a Toys for Tots hospital visit. The women continue. They've been very charitable and in the community for years. I made a note here. You've had a Wings Up Women event, and you've got a couple more coming up. Yeah,
just going back to community service, we take tremendous pride of giving back. We are so blessed in so many ways, not just in terms of resources that people provide us, but their time, and they make us a priority, and we need to do the same thing. For those who don't know, in order to graduate from FGCU for your 4 years, you need to do 80 hours community service. Dr. McTarnigan, when he started that, I wish every school in the country did that. Imagine how great our entire society would be if everybody did it. I know high schools do it, but it's a requirement at FGCU. And then we add one more. Each of our teams have to do at least one community service project with at least 90% of their team, and it can't be in their sport. Now, the second project they can do can be their sport clinic, but the first one needs to be Habitat for Humanity or visiting the Children's Hospital like the basketball team was doing earlier today for Toys for Tots. And that's a way for us to thank people, give back, and we're very proud of it. The Wings Up Women is a group that we started 2 years ago. We've had 2 luncheons over the last 2 springs, and we'll have our 3rd one on February 23rd. We also have a mentoring part of that Wings Up group, and it's just designed for people that are leaders in the community that want to help athletics, not just in terms of us trying to spread our name and additional resources, but also to mentor our young men and women. It's across the board what we try to do, but this is designed for the ladies to be in a position where we can take an opportunity that well beyond Title IX. For some of the people in our community, they didn't get these same opportunities that our current student athletes have, but for them to show them opportunities to give back or opportunities to have professional careers. So we started Wings Up Women, and now we're in our 3rd year, and if people would like to be involved, we'll put information up there on the screen to let you know that you can come to these events and also can be involved, and we have a website for that. But it's another piece outside of just staying healthy and winning games and being in a position where we get good grades that we want to grow for the young men and women while they're here at FGCU, and hopefully down the road they'll continue to give back in their societies, whether it's here in Southwest Florida or wherever they go back.
And you can make a note, Monday, January 23rd, the mentoring night, the FGCU women taking on South Carolina Upstate. that night. That's an opportunity for you. All right, I don't know if we're making news with this, but I know you've got a couple of big announcements. Baseball at JetBlue Park.
JetBlue Park, first time ever. Yeah, it's we've really appreciated the support of the Twins and the Miracle. And we played all of our special games per se at Hammond Stadium over the years, and it's harder for the Twins this year because the the World Baseball Classic's going on, and there's a number of games there and how they can protect their field. So now the Red Sox, on the other hand, have similar concerns, but they shut down at the end of spring training, where the Miracle take over as of basically April 1st. So the Red Sox said, yeah, if we can work out the dates, we'd love to have you, because they look at it as an opportunity, another event in their facility. So it's worked out that we actually have, for the first time ever, Florida is going to play us on March 7th, Tuesday, March 7th, and then we have FSU down for the first time ever playing us here in Fort Myers on Wednesday, March 15th. So between an 8-day window, we have the Gators and Seminoles for our first games ever at JetBlue. So we're really excited about that. Tickets will go on sale as of February 1st online through the Red Sox. They're actually going to help us with their, that particular component. We'll have Little League teams and others that want to work through our ticket office and can work through Kyle Schmidt to make sure that happens. I think the tickets for Little League, as long as they buy at least 10, will be $5. The rest of the ticket prices will be out online. I think it's maybe $10 general admission, $15 for reserve, but we're really excited about that. We also have home games around that same time. We have Ohio State, I believe, right in between the two games.
Oh, it's a great baseball schedule this year.
Yeah, so they're here at Hammond Stadium for a 3-game weekend, and then we also have our typical one game against Miami, and it's going to be on campus. We did that 2 years ago, and again, we like to play Miami if we can in the major league ballparks, but it's going to be on campus, and we expect with the students back from break that will be a sellout as well.
So think about that going forward. Florida and Florida State will be at JetBlue Park Tuesday, March 7th for the Gators, Wednesday, March 15th for the Noles, first time ever.
Yeah.
They're making the bus trip, but also Ohio State and Miami will be on campus at Swanson Stadium. You could argue it's the best home schedule Coach Toe has ever been able to put together.
Yeah, I really believe so, and it gets, again, it's to coach's credit. These teams will not come play us just because we're relatively close unless we have good teams that can help their RPI. We're also hoping, if we can work it out with the Red Sox pitching schedule, that a certain number 41, which we believe that will be his number, will be on the bump and can throw out a first pitch for us. So again, maybe another bonus of having somebody wearing the wrong uniform.
All right. You mentioned coaches. Coach Toe, a founding coach of the baseball program. Our question, and feel free, you can send in multiple questions every week that you want Ken Kavanagh to answer. The question that we chose this week is, with success comes a price. Are you finding it harder, the longer you're AD here, to hold on to your coaches?
Yes and no. Yes, because when you have successful people, there's always going to be opportunities for them. As I mentioned earlier, we lost Neil after all these years of him being our only swim coach, and the right opportunity came about. He actually turned down a chance to go to Arkansas, and we were really relieved. And then a couple of weeks later, FSU came available, and that added an extra element that they had a men's team on top of a women's team. And besides resources, that was something that Coach Stud was looking for. So we've had that. We will continue to unfortunately have to worry about that, but it's a nice problem to have. As an AD, you'd much prefer to have individuals that are at success levels that others would prefer to try to hire them away from you and try to do what you can to keep them, than they have the alternative, which is not what anybody wants. So we're going to continue every day to do what we can to not only create a fertile environment for our staff members to hopefully want to be here till they finish their careers, if they so chose, for the best interest of their families and their careers, that they have a better opportunity. They leave it better than they found it, and that creates a better opportunity for additional coaches, which is what we saw in Coach Rollins coming for swimming. How often do you get a chance to be the only coach and to do something where you start from scratch and the ownership that you have in that? So we know there's more than that to keep good coaches, and there's competition in the marketplace, and that's part of our responsibility, is to continue to try to generate external resources, that night at the nest and with Eagles Club memberships and so forth, to elevate our compensation packages so we can keep competitive to the point that it may not be dollar for dollar, but it's a good enough package for people to want to say, you know what, I really want to stay in green and blue.
Well, and we joke with those coaches. I mean, they were here when it was trailers, when it was dirt roads, when you turned on hot water and it came out cold. I mean, now, the trailers are gone, the roads are paved, and it's actually hot water. I don't know why they'd leave now.
Well, I hope that they continue to think that way. And again, your main responsibility as an athletic director is to try to keep your best people, not just coaches, anybody else in your staff, as long as you can. And if you unfortunately lose them, to find a way to go out and get people that can equally come in and do things. So we're blessed. I hope that we can stay away from searches. And at the same time, I'm just so appreciative of what the great job our coaches do. And as we finish another semester, we'll have information at our next opportunity to share what we think has been another outstanding academic semester that's just finished up with finals, and we're waiting on final grades, but it looks very promising.
State of the Eagles, do it about once a month. Feel free to send in any and all questions and comments, and I will ask as many of them as I can fit in with FGCU Athletic Director Ken Kavanagh. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. We'll talk again in January.
Thanks so much. God bless, and go Eagles.